Picture a tiny island at the tip of the Malay Peninsula. It has no natural resources. No coal, no oil, no gold. It doesn't even have enough fresh water to keep its people alive. It is a swampy, humid, mosquito-infested colonial outpost. By all standard economic theories, this nation should not exist. Welcome to Singapore. But not the Singapore you see on Instagram today. We are not talking about the infinity pool at Marina Bay Sands or the futuristic super trees. We are talking about 1965. Imagine the scene. It is the morning of August 9, 1965. A man appears on television. He is wearing a simple white shirt. He is not celebrating. He is crying. This is Lee Kuan Yew, the founding father of Singapore. He has just announced that Singapore has been expelled from Malaysia. They didn't fight for independence, they were kicked out. They were unwanted. At that moment, Singapore was alone in a dangerous neighborhood. To the north and south were larger, potentially hostile neighbors. Internally, the streets were filled with racial riots, opium dens, and slums. The majority of the population lived in squatter settlements with poor sanitation. The British military was preparing to withdraw, which would wipe out 20% of the economy overnight. Survival seemed impossible. A New York Times article from that era described Singapore's future as bleak. How do you build a first-world economy in a third-world region with zero resources? The answer lay in a ruthless, pragmatic, and brilliant strategy that would defy history. Since they had no land to farm and no resources to mine, they decided to mine the only thing they had, their location and their people. Phase 1, the Factory of the East. In the 1960s and 70s, globalization was just a concept. But Singapore's leaders saw it coming. They opened their doors wide. While other post-colonial nations were nationalizing industries and chasing away foreign companies, Singapore did the opposite. They told the world, "Come here. It is safe. Our taxes are low. Our laws are strict. Our workers are disciplined." They turned their swampy Jurong land into a massive industrial park. They courted American and Japanese tech giants before tech was even a buzzword. They became the manufacturing hub for the world's electronics. But factories were not enough. To become truly wealthy, they needed order. This brings us to the most controversial part of the Singapore story, the social engineering. Lee Kuan Yew believed that for a small nation to survive, it had to be exceptional. "Poetry is a luxury we cannot afford," he once said. They built a society based on meritocracy and strict discipline. They banned chewing gum to keep streets clean. They imposed harsh penalties for crime. They effectively forced people to live together in ethnic harmony through housing quotas, dismantling the racial ghettos that had caused riots in the past. It was harsh. It was strict. Western liberals criticized it as authoritarian. But it worked. The streets became safe. The corruption, which plagues almost every other Asian economy, was eradicated. Singapore became a garden city, green, clean, and efficient. Phase 2, the Financial Fortress. As the 80s and 90s arrived, Singapore realized that manufacturing would eventually move to cheaper countries like China. They had to pivot again. They decided to become the Switzerland of Asia. They built a world-class financial infrastructure. They educated their population in English, the language of global commerce. They turned their port into the busiest in the world, and their airport, Changi, into a destination itself. Today, look at the transformation. The mudflats are gone. In their place stands a skyline that looks like it belongs in a science fiction movie. Singapore has one of the highest GDP per capita in the world, surpassing their former colonizer, Great Britain, and even the United States. They have sovereign wealth funds, Temasek and GIC, that manage hundreds of billions of dollars, investing in everything from Silicon Valley startups to massive infrastructure projects globally. They turned their water vulnerability into strength, becoming global leaders in water recycling technology with any water. But the visuals of Singapore, the jewel at Changi Airport, the Helix Bridge, the clean streets, tell a deeper story. They are symbols of a psychological victory. Singaporeans define themselves by their vulnerability. They call it the paranoid state. They know that everything they have built could collapse if they become lazy, corrupt, or complacent. This is a nation that runs like a corporation. It is efficient, unsentimental, and forward-looking. They prove that geography is not destiny. They prove that a nation without a past could build the future. From a crying leader on TV in 1965 to the glittering lights of the Marina Bay Grand Prix today. This is the story of how a little red dot on the map bought the world. Welcome to the Singapore Miracle.